UFC 320 in Vegas a few days ago. I was there. I was also at UFC 316 in Jersey a couple months before that. So I've had two opportunities now to see Patchy Mix fight live. And honestly, he looks even worse in person than he does in the broadcast. I swear to God. After his most recent loss to UFC newcomer Jakub Wiklacz, Daniel Cormier was vocal about saying that he thinks Patchy Mix won that fight. I'm here to tell you that Daniel Cormier has no idea what he's talking about, at least as it relates to that fight. Dude, I have rewatched this fight 7 times now, and later on in this video, I'm going to give you a concrete example of how the UFC fight stats that show on screen during the broadcast are complete fucking horseshit. So, first off though, Patchy Mix. Let me set the table for this. For those of you who don't know, Patchy Mix was a former Bellator fighter who went on an insane run in their bantamweight world tournament. I mean, he really destroyed people in that event, and everyone references it. I mean, Luke Thomas, Chael Sonnen, Tim Welch, like respected names in the sport, all were telling us that this guy was going to be a problem in the UFC. Patchy Mix was one of the best. I mean, just to go back to the tournament, he ran over legend Kyoji Horiguchi. He choked out Magomed Magomedov. Highlight knockout of Rafion Stotts, the flying knee to the face, winning him the Bellator belt, defended it against Sergio Pettis, submitting him. I mean, honestly, go watch Patchy Mix highlights on YouTube. He was like super aggressive submissions. I'm talking guillotines, knee bar submissions, crucifix, arm triangles. Dude, he even fucking submitted a guy with a Suliov stretch. I had to look that shit up. Literally never seen it before. It's like a random, like you grab their leg and fold it back over their body and like pull their hamstring till they tap. I mean, the point being that Patchy Mix had beat all of the best fighters outside of the UFC, dominating them on the ground. Which, I mean, I guess is probably why before his first fight with Mario Bautista, he had such a cocky ass attitude. I mean, just listen to some of this shit.
3-time world champion. This guy's a journeyman fighter. I will him up, bro. I'm gonna him up. Look at his goals. I'll submit him, and I'll submit whoever's teaching him jiu-jitsu. I'll submit the whole crew.
So, after all the shit talking, all the boasting about he's the best bantamweight on the planet, and he's looking past his opponent Mario Bautista, what does he do in his first UFC fight? Jack sweet fuck all. The fight with Bautista was terrible. I mean, I've seen better head movement from a fence post, actually. He just stood completely flat-footed in front of his opponent and got barbecue chicken all night, like roasted to a crisp. To make everything worse, though, despite how much trash he was talking before the fight, calling Mario a journeyman and all this shit, he came on social media afterwards and gave the whole, oh, I took this fight on 3 weeks' notice against a guy who was in an 8-fight win streak. So he didn't even own it. But either way, you saw people making excuses for him, saying octagon jitters, all of that stuff. Look, after that performance, the UFC clearly wanted to see him prove it in this weekend's event. So they stashed him on the prelims, which I thought was funny, fighting against a kickboxer who is making his UFC debut, which perfect get-right matchup for Patchy, I guess. Only problem is, I'm going to get into the fight. I'm going to break down mostly the first 2 rounds because the second round specifically was where Daniel Cormier and John Anik and some others said that Patchy had probably won. So if you didn't see the fight, I'm going to kind of, give it a play-by-play a little bit, give you the feel. So look, 8 seconds in the first round, Wiklacz, I'm saying that wrong, Wiklacz, whatever, exposed Patchy's poor footwork. I just want to pause here for a minute because, I mean, Patchy is a southpaw, right? And anyone that knows anything about fighting, if you're southpaw versus orthodox, proper footwork dictates that you want to get your lead foot, which if you're orthodox is your left foot and then the other guy's right foot, you want your lead foot to be outside of your opponent's. Reason being, if I'm orthodox, my left foot is outside my opponent. When I punch with my power hand, which obviously is my right, it's straight down the center line. It's directly, your opponent is directly in front of you. Whereas for your opponent, if you're on the outside, his power hand is his left. He's got to come all the way across his body to hit you, right? Go back to the Mario Bautista fight. The whole first round, he was stepping to the outside. Patchy was losing that battle, losing the striking battle. It really didn't look good. First second of this fight, what does Wiklacz do? Exact same thing. And he tags him with a right left in the first 8 seconds, cracking him right in the eye, which I believe broke his orbital right there. You see pictures of Patchy after the fight. His eye is all messed up. We're going to get into some of the other strikes, but I think that right there kind of fucked Patchy. Wiklacz, obviously kickboxer, so he was active with his kicks as well. Punches to the solar plexus, which is another thing Mario Bautista did well, going downstairs and upstairs. Patchy's a grappler, right? And the first fight with Bautista, the big criticism was you just stood with him the entire time. Why didn't you even attempt any takedowns? One half-assed one. So 3 minutes and 53 seconds in the first round, Mix goes for a takedown. He actually picks him up and suplexes him. But here's the thing. Wiklacz had, as soon as Patchy went for the takedown, instead of fighting it, he went for a guillotine. Now, fighters do this in the UFC all the time. It actually drives me fucking nuts because it almost basically never works out. And then you're on your back and you've given up position. And it's like, why don't you actually defend the takedown intelligently instead of, a reactionary move? We're going to see, though, as we go on with this fight, this was premeditated on Jakub Wiklacz's part. This was on purpose. So Patchy picks him up, like I said, boom, slams him down. But he's got the guillotine in so tightly that eventually, obviously, okay, so he gives it up and then mixes in his guard and he just uses the butterfly perfectly, pushes him off. I mean, a minute and a half of ground control, but Patchy did absolutely nothing with it in terms of damage. And then we repeat it again, right? So 2 minutes and 14 seconds up against the cage. Mix goes for another takedown. Jakub again locks in the guillotine. This time, he got it in so tight that when they hit the ground, Patchy had to roll away to escape, which ended up giving top position to Wiklacz. So now Patchy's sitting up against the cage. And again, I just want to pause here. World-class grappler, elite submission artist. You're fighting a kickboxer. You take him down, and he ends up getting top position on you. Not only top position, but like I said, Patchy's flat against the cage on his ass, and Jakub picks him up, pulls him, flattens him on his back, and gets him mounted with his legs crossed and stuck in a vulnerable position, no less. Now, Patchy, for all of his grappling that, the times that he was able to take Jakub down in this fight, never did anything with the position. Wiklacz, on the other hand, like I said, flattens him out, transitions to knee on belly, then uses that to transition to side control, and while he has Patchy down, hits him with a vicious elbow wear right on the exact same eye that he cracked him with in the first. Look, first round, there is zero question, all the judges' scorecards. Jakub Wiklacz won, hands down. Round 2, you could even tell in the corner, Patchy looked scared, apprehensive, tentative. Wiklacz, calm, cool, collected. Honestly, they went back and forth on strikes for the first 4 minutes of round 2. But I'm telling you, Patchy punches like a wet noodle. It's unbelievable, especially when you see it live. It looked so terrible. You could tell that Wiklacz was not respecting the power. The thing is, it's weird. Patchy seems to love punching with these straight half-ass shots. It looks like he's just extending his arm out, not loading up, zero power. It fucking looks like he's punching underwater or something. I don't know. But I have to admit, I didn't watch Patchy's early career. But if you look at the record, he only has a single knockout from strikes. It's all subs or TKOs or, ground and pound, which I guess makes sense after looking at his striking. But here's the fucked up part, because the second round is really where Patrick Cormier was under the false impression that Patchy had won that round. And this is what I was referencing earlier with the graphic. At the 49-second mark in the second round, they put up a graphic saying that Patchy had outlanded Wiklacz 25-9. I was not joking when I said I rewatched this fight a ton of times. I actually rewatched the second round specifically in slow motion twice. Once just counting Jakub Wiklac's strikes, and one just focusing on Patchy Mix and just counting his strikes. I made sort of two columns where I wrote down, significant strikes that landed with authority that you could see had consequence, and then one where you could kind of tell like it made contact, but I'm going to call them non-significant strikes. Here's the thing. Like I said, the UFC or the little graphic said 25-19 for Patchy. I had it on my count 30-25 for Wiklacz for significant strikes, 11-8 for non-significant strikes. So that's 41-28. Now, Patchy did have two takedowns in the round, one at 335, which lasted 9 seconds before Wiklacz, guess what, caught him in a gilly that Patchy had to roll away from again, and another takedown at 228, which again, guillotine defense, I guess that's what we're calling it, and Patchy was able to stay on top for 40 seconds, did nothing with it at all. I mean, all that you could really say is that the last 10 seconds of that round, they were in a tie clinch and Patchy got off about 6 short like uppercuts to the body. But I mean, in tight, dirty boxing, like we know that's, the power is not necessarily there. So second round, he was outstruck with significant strikes, surely. He did have two takedowns, but again, he did nothing with them whatsoever. Now, I mean, credit to Patchy, round 3, he did win. 10 seconds in, goes for the takedown again, same thing, Jakub gets the guillotine, puts him straight into full guard, and like, this is the thing. Even in the third round, Patchy was on top for like 4 minutes, but Wiklacz was still the more active fighter. He was still landing more shots. Patchy got him in a nice elbow. You see pictures after the fight, his eyes all fucked up. But it took Patchy until the 1 minute and 48 second mark of the third round to even pass his guard. And we're talking to get into half guard and again, do nothing with it. He was just laying on top of him. At certain points, he just looked gassed. He was barely moving. Herzog even gave him the old like, hey, come on, let's go, man. Like try to fight for a better position. 20 seconds left, and again, Wiklac's movement, shrimping, using his feet and his butterfly guard to create space, finally gets him back on top. The point being that the kickboxer Jakub Wiklacz, whose first fight in the UFC, looked better on the ground and in grappling exchanges as Patchy Mix, who's supposed to be world class. I don't want all this to come off that I hate Patchy for any reason, although I did bet on him twice and lose both times. It's just that what is supposed to be his elite strength clearly is not holding up against higher competition. I know everyone says that he looked really good back in the day. I have not seen that in 1 second of any of the fights that I've watched. And for Daniel Cormier and others to say that Patchy lost that fight, honestly, maybe that's just eye test stuff. Like watching it live, I didn't think he won that fight. But if you go back and watch the tape, you will clearly see that he got his ass handed to him. I don't know, man. You guys tell me what you think in the comments. If you think Patchy has a future in this division, or if you think he won that fight somehow and I'm an idiot, I appreciate your education on the matter.